Okay, so I told you all that I would share my mistakes with you as well as my successes. So my failures and my successes, they kind of go hand in hand. So one of my failures already this year came on pretty quick whenever I decided to use some fertilizer on my seedlings. So I knew that I was not supposed to use fertilizer full strength, but I forgot. So whenever I mixed the fertilizer, I mixed it regular strength, just like I would if the plants were, in mid growth or, getting bigger, I guess, so to speak, and not seedlings. So, note to self and note to you all, do not use full strength fertilizer on your seedlings. Once your seedlings, well, first of all, you don't need fertilizer at all when you very first start growing any kind of seedling, regardless of whether it's a vegetable, a fruit, or even flowers. So, whenever they're brand new, they do not need any kind of um, nutrients whenever they very first come up out of the soil. So, whenever they start to get their first true leaf, is what it's called, when it first comes up out of the soil, it has two leaves. Is usually what you see, and those are I forget what they're called, sprouting or germinating leaves, I think is what they're called. And those are not considered a true leaf. So the true leaf is the very first set of leaves that it develops after that. So first of all, you do not have to fertilize until they get their first set of true leaves, which is typically about 2 weeks old, maybe. So mine were actually several weeks old, some older than others because I did not start them all at the same time. So when I mixed the fertilizer up, I just read the directions on the package and just mixed it as it said to mix it. And that's not what you do for seedlings. For seedlings, um, you mix it half strength. So I'm going to show you all what it has done to my plants, and thank goodness it did not ruin them all, but it has done some damage. So I'm going to show you all what it's done. Okay, so I'll show you the least affected ones first. These are melons, and you can see this leaf here especially. You can see how it's brown around the outside of the leaf. So that one is affected pretty good. And then there's another one back there that's like that on 2 or 3 of the leaves. There's one here on the front that's like that. So these were pretty good size by the time I put the fertilizer on them. So they are not affected greatly, and they are going to come out of it just fine. The peppers fared pretty good. You can see the effects of the fertilizer, like on this leaf, it's curled up, brown in places. You can see places that look like spots. Again, here's some tomatoes, brown around the edges. Some of them are just kind of wimpy looking. You can see it's crumbly around the edges. This one back here in the back, same thing. So luckily, I learned a lesson before it completely ruined all of my plants. So most of mine were good size that I had used the fertilizer on. So it didn't affect all of them the same. So the bigger ones fared the best. And you can see some of these. This one is so wimpy looking, and whenever I feel of it in my fingers, it's not nice like the rest of the leaf. It does not feel the same at all. It just feels really wimpy and super soft, wilted, I guess you could call it. And some of them have just little white spots on them. You can see those. Most of the bottom leaves is what it really affected the most. Now I've already pulled gosh, a good handful already off of these. There's some more that it's affected. So it's affected almost all of them to some extent. Back here in the back, more, but they are already coming out of it. But some of them, it got really good. Like this one. This one was not very big to start with. And so this one here, that little leaf right there, I'm probably just going to pinch off because it is so wilted. It will never recover from that. Same thing over here. I will just pinch this one off. That will not recover. It is too wilted. There's no way it will recover from that. But there is a little bit left at the top, so there's hope. So I'm going to leave that one. And this one here is the one that was affected the most. This was one of my Mr. Stripies. And I've already pulled off all of the leaves that it affected on this one. And this one was affected even on the stem. It had a real milky white look to it. Most of it's gone now. So I think this one will recover as well, even though so much of it looks bad. I still can't just give up on it. So I'm going to wait and see what it does. But most of them are affected to some extent. Let me see if I can pull this out. This pan is probably the one that was affected the most. Like I said, I have already pulled off a lot of the damaged areas. A couple hands full. And like I said, it mostly started at the bottom. See where I've snipped some off right here? If I can get that into focus. I've already snipped off the very tip end of that one. So anyway, this leaf here looks pretty bad too. You can see. But this one has a lot of other growth on it. So I'm going to leave that one alone. They're already starting to recover. So I had to do some research on what to do for them. And so from what I researched, really all you can do is, if it's a plant that's outside and you have put too much fertilizer on it, you may want to dig it up and plant it somewhere else because the soil retains a lot of the fertilizer that you've put in it. If you have them in pots like I do, you can run water through the pot. So get your hose or your watering pail, however you water them, and just get you some clean, fresh water as soon as you realize what you've done, and just start running water through the plant. Water all of them just at the base of your pots, and let the water run through it into your pan. Empty that out, and then do it again. I've done it every day for about 2 or 3 days. And mine have already started looking better. And luckily, I did not put any on my brand new seedlings. So I've got several things that's just now starting to come up. There's another melon that it affected. That one was up in the other pan. Got some brand new babies just starting to come up. So luckily I did not put any on any of these smaller ones. Lots of stuff coming up. My green seedless grapes are starting to grow out of the bag. I need to get these things planted, so hopefully it will be warm enough after this weekend to start getting stuff planted. Anyway, I hope that I have helped you all to not do the same thing that I have done. Do not use full strength fertilizer on your seedlings. I hope you all have learned something. I know I sure have. Have a good night. God bless.